Hello, hello. Uh, Hope this thing works. Hello, everybody. A little bit scuffed today. Looks all fine as far as I can see. So I think we're good. Again, as always, I'll be waiting a few minutes before actually getting into the convo, but since we had the starting soon screen up for a while, I think we can get this thing going quite soon. I'm not really in a hurry today because, as you can see, there's not really a lot of topics that I've got prepared for today. I couldn't really think of much. So we'll see. We'll see if anything else comes up in the chat, and we will go from there, I guess. Okay. Before I actually begin, let me just say I've got two topics actually prepared for today. I've got some closing thoughts that I guess I would add as always, but two real topics, both coming from the community again, so that's really nice. I always love people sending me stuff in, but in general we're gonna have to wing it a little bit today. Yeah, I've just been sick for a few days, so I'm not really in a great shape to talk or anything. I don't know, it's a bit rough. Anyways, we'll be taking this time, half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. We'll see how long this goes, and we'll see how good this time slot is. I've picked the time of the Steam drop on Tuesday, so we'll see if some people want to use this time to drop by here. Either way, I guess we could head in topic number one as things stand. Let's open it up then, shall we? Topic number one for the February Moderator Town Hall. Maclunkey responding to Antiquity. What is this about? Well, this is about, well, basically a discussion from like 5 or 6 weeks ago at this point. If you guys remember, in the last Town Hall stream, I commented on a topic brought up by Antiquity, talking about the process of making teams in ladder games, at least in non-Ceton ladder games, right? And so in those games, we've got two captains, they make teams for each other, and opinions diverge as to how good this current process we're using is, and what should or shouldn't be allowed. Last week I commented on Antiquity's point of view in this discussion, and I just gave my thoughts. Mac felt a bit left out there because he was having a back and forth with Anti, and I didn't mention his points at all, which is true. I wasn't trying to give an overview of the discussion in the Steam chat. I was just responding to something interesting I had read there from Antiquity. But Mac has a different angle he sees this whole thing from, so I thought it was a good idea to maybe include this one here. Usually I would now put up a picture on the screen here for you guys to see the quote from Mac. However, it was incredibly lengthy. He sent me a nice long paragraph in DMs, so I could really understand where he was coming from. Thus, I don't have a nice little concise quote that I can throw up on the screen for you guys to understand. I will just have to summarize it in my own words. So we're not gonna have that visual aid here today. So what was Max saying? He's got a couple of points here on the topic of making teams, captains, etc. And yeah, he begins by criticizing Anti for his complaint about the second captain advantage. If you guys remember from last month, Anti basically said the current process is a bit weird because it punishes the first captain for being higher elo, and it gives the second captain a much easier time of gaining elo while artificially dragging down the first captain's elo. That's what Anti said. Mac criticizes this position because, and this is his big thing, Mac argues that the intent behind this rule, the goal behind the process of making teams, is very much at center here. From Antiquity's point of view, the goal would be to have a playing field as even as possible when it comes to gaining elo in those team games. Mac, however, thinks that the majority of the community doesn't prioritize that, but would much rather have as fair a game as possible, meaning as 50-50 of a win percentage for both teams when the teams are made. So that's what Mac proposes most people probably want. So he says the majority opinion or the majority of the people want fair and evenly matched games, basically. So Anti's complaint about the second captain's advantage is irrelevant because the elo gains or losses aren't typically at the forefront of everybody's priorities when it comes to making teams. That's what he alleges, at least. So he goes on to say that if Anti actually wanted as fair an elo system as possible, he shouldn't be using civ picks when making teams. But Max says, to the contrary, Antiquity is one of the premier users of giving civilization picks when making teams, and that is running counter to the idea of elo equality and basically gaming the elo system in a sense, which it is. Giving civ picks is definitely not what Mac stated Antiquity's goal seems to be. So what Mac basically says with this is, even Anti and many of the other captains as well use civ picks because they admit sometimes that is a good idea if you want to have as evenly matched games as possible, and giving civ picks basically is an admission that you prioritize an evenly matched game over the elo system's accuracy. Now, Max says if it was really so important for somebody to have the elo equality, the elo system as accurate and fair as possible, we could just make the teams based on maths. We could just have an algorithm. We could just make a formula, spit out the teams for each game, meaning no captains deciding which players on which team at all. We could just have that be done by math, so that the teams would always be in as evenly matched in terms of elo as possible, and that would then theoretically give the best chance for everybody to have reasonable elo gains or losses. That's what Mac claims there. So basically he's doing two things. He's saying, one, Antiquity isn't quite consistent with the goals he seems to have, and secondly, the goals that one has need to be stated first before even thinking about solutions to the elo system. That's what Mac, in his comments to me, really emphasized heavily on. We need to decide first what our goal is with the team-making process, and then we need to think about theory crafting those solutions. We can't solve a problem that we haven't even stated yet. What is our problem? What is our goal in this whole endeavor? And he's got a couple of very good points here. I don't want to really comment on what someone's goal is or isn't, because I'm not going to hypothesize about individuals' priorities when they go into CIV3, but just in general, that is of course a good idea. It would be a decent idea to just have a community poll where we ask people, is it for you guys, is it more important to have evenly matched games or an accurate elo system? That when making teams, that could be a question you could poll the community on, and then develop a team-making process based on that. But I don't even think that that is necessary, to be honest. I don't even think we need to have a poll such as that, because I don't think that this is an issue that we need to tackle from the top down. So I don't think we need a rule in order to do this. I want to have more of a general comment here, which is if you guys have any ideas, such as this one, concerning basically the way in which games are hosted or played, or any ideas concerning the mods that we're playing. So if you have any balance ideas, you can just implement them yourself in your own lobbies. And I very much encourage this. I think it's a really good idea. If somebody just started hosting lobbies, MPT lobbies, where Carthage was available in every single MPT lobby that I host, for example, and I advertise all of my MPTs as saying, I'm hosting MPT with Carthage. And then people start joining my lobbies, and maybe some of these people start thinking, hey, Carthage is a pretty cool NPC. I'm gonna host with Carthage in my MPTs as well. That way, without even changing the rules or forcing anybody to adhere to our personal ideas or propositions, we can just make an offer and see how well the community responds. And if it's a really good idea, the majority will implement it themselves without even being forced or pushed by anyone. So I think that is a really good idea. If somebody thinks this current system of making teams is shit, I want to do it differently, just host your own lobby with your own team making system. You advertise that in advance. And if people don't like it, they won't join, obviously. But if people are interested, they'll give it a shot. And I can, from my personal experience, I can say people respond quite positively to many of these things. Because most of all, people just want to play games. They don't really care that much about the technicalities. If you mod one or two things in your MPT or your future or your modern file, most people won't be making a big deal about that. So that's what I think about this issue. It's a really interesting topic with many different legitimate fucking Nightbot. I'm so sorry. That is, I don't have my commands updated yet. That's still for the tourney. Ignore the commands and the bot, please. Okay, back to the topic. I think it's a really interesting discussion with very many valid different points of view, but I think everybody can go about solving this themselves in their own lobbies regarding this. Rules regarding bug abuse, insults, behavior, stuff like that, rules that are explicitly stated on our website as well, are subject to moderation. So that's some things that in ladder games you just have to adhere to. But most things that people discuss daily in the Steam group are things that they could actually try out for themselves in their own lobby. So that's what I would encourage if somebody truly has a problem with the current way that we're making teams. I'm interested in hearing if there's like any ideas that you have about this thing here in chat. I'll go through chat real quick and see if there's any comments on this one. It screws over the first captain, and the second captain gets an advantage under the current system. That is absolutely correct. Yes. Mathematically based elo system and matchmaking algorithm will matchmake teams that converges to 50-50 fair games. That makes sense to me, although I don't know that. That just sounds good. That just sounds like it would be right. Why do you want 50-50 games? That just means the team with best lands or sieves wins every time. No, I don't think that is a logical conclusion there. If you're saying the ideal is to get as close to evenly matched teams as possible, and Lib's argument is, well, then the team with the better land just wins every time. That doesn't make any sense at all to me, because the implication there is that he prefers teams that are not evenly matched, so that the better team wins every time. Or that it's a mix between better team winning automatically or better land winning automatically. But that's just not how things work. Because the teams should be 50-50 in skill, and then sure, if one team has egregiously bad land and the other one has really good land, that team will probably win every time. But even though you're matched 50-50 equally in skill, you can still play better or worse than your opponents, right? Maybe there's something I'm not getting there, but no, you don't have to automatically lose just because your opponent is roundabout as good as you. You can still outplay them, even if they're as good as you. That's at least how I see things. Safe pick shouldn't necessarily be banned, but we need to accommodate a mathematical rule that accounts for that. Okay, interesting. That's a suggestion here to say that, okay, we recognize that some people want more evenly matched games, and thus they want to use safe picks, but we want to have that impact the ELO formula. That's an idea that we could surely implement. I don't run the algorithm, I don't know, but that could definitely be done. We could say, okay, we're using a safe pick in this game. That team will be punished elo-wise for having a civ picked for them. That sounds viable, at least. Alright. If I know one team has a player who doesn't share res or is grumpy, then I put them on a stronger team. So either get better teammates or the strongest player, for example. Okay, so that's just the philosophy about making teams. Some people have different priorities, obviously, yep. Lances are always completely random. At least having match-made teams fairly will decrease the insane variability we get game to game. Obviously, yeah. Well, I don't know. Does it decrease variance or variability? I don't know. It just removes one factor of variability here. Being a bad teammate is something that's baked into ELO, though. If you're a bad teammate, you lose more often. You lose more often than if you were the exact same player but a good teammate. Whatever good teammate means. Because I don't think that is good or bad teammate under some people's definition doesn't even have necessarily anything to do with a good player or a bad player. Again, I think that's a pretty subjective definition that could vary there. Because Lip saying he doesn't agree. I can see that you could disagree with that, yeah. Of course, yes, that is obviously right. If we want to account for civ picks in the elo system, people will have to report it, and they're not doing it right now. They're not reporting anything other than who won, so we don't have any data at all to go on. If people wanted different stuff to be logged, kills, civs, turns of the game, anarchy time in future. For example, if your team had long anarchies and you still win, maybe you gain more elo. All that stuff could theoretically be done, although I'm saying that half jokingly right now. But people aren't reporting it, so for now it's not physically doable for you, but it is theoretically doable in terms of if we decided to actually implement something like that. Yeah, I get what you mean, status, of course. Yeah, if you have two identical players, the one is a good teammate, the other one is a bad teammate, then depending on what your definition of good teammate is, the good teammate would probably win more often. Yeah. Status runs the elo algorithm. Paris. You can ask any questions about that straight to him here in chat. Some people suck up to certain players. Well, obviously, like depending what suck up means, yeah, of course. Some people like to play with some people more than some other people. I think everybody likes to play with some people more than with other people, depending what suck up means. But yeah, that's just social dynamics, though, isn't it? Like, yeah, please reach out to Status if you have constructive stuff on this as well. He knows way more about the ELO algorithm, obviously, than I do, and probably more about any sort of algorithm than I do, other than maybe Rubik's Cube algorithms. But even on that, I assume he knows more. He seems like the type of guy. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or a diss, but take it as whatever you will. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. All right. Okay, there's not many more points about the elo, or not. We weren't actually talking about the elo system. The actual point here is about how we make teams, if we need a rule for that, or if we need to change it at all, or what we should prioritize when we make teams and when we make a rule for the team making stuff. Any more thoughts about that? Then comment them now, if you will. Yeah, Lip, the thing is, you're bringing up a good point here. If you want to make teams, get good. That's the thing, and he doesn't want to make teams. He says being the one who makes the teams is a disadvantage, which well, I wanted to say objectively, but it's not objectively. You can argue that, but it is a disadvantage to have to be the one who makes the teams, in my opinion. Because sure, you get to make the teams, but you're punished by always getting the worst team, theoretically. So that is, I don't think you necessarily would want to make the teams if your priority, like Anti says, is to have the most, to have the best chance at gaining elo. If you want to have fun games and play with people you like, then sure, being one first or second captain, both are really appealing to you. But that's is being white in chess a disadvantage? I wouldn't know about that. I would I would assume that one of the two colors in chess is probably disadvantageous based on what I have heard about how people play the game, but I've never played it on any level close to uh, high game theory. So I sort of I don't get the comparison here, so that's why I can't really comment on that. Yeah, the team making thing is interesting. Some people have been talking about using the ELAT system that apparently used to be in use here in the community. Everybody wants to try it out. I encourage them doing that in their own lobbies, and maybe it'll gain popularity. So that's kind of where I stand on this. And yeah, whatever Max said, I agree that if we wanted to tackle this from top down, we should definitely survey the people for the goals they want this system to achieve first, and then start looking for solutions. But I don't think that is the route that we actually even want to go with this whole thing. And I also agree with this point that for most people there is these two priorities at odds with each other. I would maybe just like to add that having a number one goal and having one single goal is two different things, right? It's a different thing to say the most important thing for me is fair elo, gains and losses, but that doesn't mean it's the only goal. You still want some parity in terms of chances to win, I assume. Most people do. So for most people, that's more of a balance to strike and not one or the other. Obviously, like I think that was pretty much understood, but still, that is pretty much relevant here. So just because Anti shows signs of factoring in both things doesn't matter, or doesn't mean that he's wrong or disingenuous when he says that one thing is more important than the other one to him. That's just maybe what I would add here. But I agree with this sentiment. Okay, so I think that's it then for topic number 1. Status saying, personally he prioritizes accurate elo in most situations, but if someone cares more about maximizing fun balance within game, it's valid also. Yeah, absolutely. I personally, for me, it fully depends on what mod I'm playing and what lobby I'm playing with. I went on this grinding spree in MPT where I climbed into front page. Was all about elo. back then. Now that I got like rank 17, 16 peak or whatever, I was happy with that. Now I'm just playing for fun, basically in every lobby, in every mod, pretty much just for fun. So I have different goals now than even half a year ago. You can see it can switch up really quick. Okay, I think we can slowly transition to our second of two topics here. Then, unless, yeah, but I think we've pretty much all given our thoughts on this one. Okay, status. With the second topic, I'll clarify that, of course, before. Okay. Topic number 2 then. Carlot on noobs is the abbreviation. That is pretty misleading. I just couldn't figure out a different way of abbreviating it for this topic list here. Carlot's thoughts, well, again, he gave me more of a paragraph that sadly is too long for me to display on screen here. So again, I can't throw up the visual aid of a quote right here. So again, I'll summarize his thoughts. Also, it was in German, so I'm not sure how many of you guys would appreciate a German quote here on the screen. I don't think it would help many of y'all. So I'm sorry. Okay then. What did Carlot say? He says, and I translate just as I read through this, so don't think he can't write proper English. It's just me translating on the spot. Carlot says he's got an interesting topic for the stream. He thinks the community overall has improved quite a bit. Maybe it's a good idea to focus on some positive things or productive things, and that would be how to integrate new people into the community. He says the process is first of all getting their attention, even having them learn about our community, then making them join the chat, then receiving them well and educating them about our systems, and then having them develop into active members and players that play regularly. That is the 4-step program for noobs as formulated by Carlot. And he says that the noob info section on Steam is a nice first step. If you guys aren't aware, in the Steam group, there's a channel called Noob Info where I wrote up a super long paragraph with all the info that new players could need. But Carlot says oftentimes in lobbies there's huge, well, I don't want to use a bad word here, but he just says there's oftentimes new players get rejected in lobbies. They come in and there's just hostility or just disinterest from our community members. They don't want to deal with the whole burden of having people having to explain this whole thing, getting them into the chat and stuff. So he says he thinks that is a negative thing, that we don't treat them very well coming in our lobbies. And he says, yeah, maybe just let's talk a bit about this topic and find some solutions how we could best find new players for the community, how to advertise our community, and then if once they find us in the lobby or wherever, how to make sure that they are received well. That's a question he just posed more or less open-endedly here. Okay. All right. So actually here I'll address the opinions in chat first, and then I'll give my own thoughts on what Carlot wrote, because the chat's already pretty interesting here. Rabbit is saying, be nice to noobs, no rejecting. So that's the one end of the spectrum. President says he sees this all too often, actually. And then Tommy comes in and says it's nonsense in his opinion. Lobbies are usually happy for anyone making it instead of waiting another 15 minutes. And both things are true, in my opinion. I've seen this in the last month. I've seen this at least 2 times that I can remember off the top of my head, where a guy that wasn't in the Steam group, apparently a completely new guy, joins a lobby and people aren't really directing him well. I know Cheese was around for one of those times and he joined a bit later and tried to guide him a little bit, but it was one of Swade's lobbies, I believe, that one. And so I also agree, yeah, this happens all the time, that new people join and they aren't really, it's not really being explained to them all in a friendly manner, and people don't really seem like they are happy about new players wanting to play with us and going through the whole process of guiding them and having them join the chat and everything, because it's a bit tedious, obviously. And then on the other hand, what Tommy says is also right. Most of the time people just want somebody to play with, and especially MPT hosts, from my experience, they are oftentimes willing to just have anybody play with them. Yeah, most of the time they want them to join in the Steam group or at least add somebody on Discord, which is reasonable, but especially MPT hosts, they are usually completely willing to just roll with whoever joins. Cheese commenting on the topic number 1, all right. And actually I'm also commenting on something that Anti said last month, so it's not really, yeah, it's a valid point. It's just not nothing really contrary to what we've been talking about. President says the complete opposite from my sentiment. President argues in chat that future and modern players tend to be the most welcoming. That's the complete opposite opinion I've had. I've had the opinion, or the impression, that modern players are the least welcoming because they are playing the least intuitive mod. They're playing a very difficult mod for new players to understand. And modern players usually say, hey, why don't you check out a guide first? Or why don't you check out, at least, why don't you join the Discord and watch a game first so you get a better feel? That's my impression of how modern lobbies sometimes tend to go. But everybody, of course, has different impressions from their own subjective personal experience playing games. Future community has been shafted the most. I don't think... I don't know a whole lot about the current future community. I've played like 2 futures in the last 5 months, so I wouldn't know. I can imagine it, yeah. I can imagine them being pretty cool with the new guys. Status also has an interesting point of view where he says the future lobby might be the most welcoming in a sense that they let me in their game, but they're not welcoming because they won't explain anything to me and they just kill me every time, and they don't help me at all. So they're not welcoming in a sense of integrating them into the community in a more intellectual or well, in a more educational manner is what how I would describe this. So there's different angles here I can see already to this topic, which is interesting. So that is... everybody's saying it's a common thread that people ask you to join the Steam group first, which is a policy that I think Suede started and I think is pretty reasonable, right? You want people to be actually connected to you or able to be reached out to before launching the game, because otherwise you can never reload. It's just, yeah, pretty much necessary for the way we run things here. And geez, of course, yeah, obviously, if I'm playing a modern with 6 players, a 3v3, and one is a complete new guy that has never played a single multiplayer game before, that game is pretty, yeah. I would agree. That that's a pretty useless game to play in terms of, well, I wouldn't say it's a useless game. I think it's a completely predetermined game. So it's useless for people who like to compete for elo. It's not useless to me because I just want to move some units around on the screen, and that guy who gets to play for the first time gets a very valuable first experience of playing multiplayer. So I think that's not useless. But many people in the community want to play balanced games or want to compete for elo. Not all want both these things, but those are two big things that people want. So I think, yeah, that is obviously something that turns most people away from having new players in modern lobbies especially. Future is dying because of Suede. Okay, he banned us all from the main chat and got the weaker players in his awful modern mod. Can't say a whole lot about that, because that's a lot of victim mindset and a grain and a core of truth in there, obviously, right? Like, I mean, what am I gonna say about that? Suede never loved Future a lot. He made Modern specifically to make Future better. So yeah, obviously, in his ideal world, Future would be replaced by Modern. It took a very long time, but now Modern is way more popular than Future. I would heavily disagree that that is because he kicked a few of you guys from the chat, though. That's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's just not really the case. Just because Lib and Bob are no longer in the Steam group, I don't think that's why Future isn't being played anymore. I just don't think so, right? You can think so. I think that's a lot of victim mindset if that's what you truly believe. That Future dying out is because 2 of you guys were removed from the Steam chat. That part is victim mindset, in my opinion, right? Still, whether or not you should be kicked from the Steam group and if Modern or Future is better, that's all relevant discussions that you can have. But just pertaining to this discussion here, we're talking about gaining a player base, right? Just that's why I'm kind of not really keen on this thing, because I don't think it's relevant to this discussion at hand. Talking about how to get players, how to have the community integrate new guys. I don't think that the Future player base, the Modern player base, or the MPT player base hinges on Suede removing 1 or 2 guys from the chat for a week. That's just right. That's what I mean. And yeah, I think that obviously, yeah, since Future has been played very rarely lately, that is obviously sad for the people who like to play Future, right? There's ways to go about it. Right? If you see somebody like Pug who like to play QC a whole lot, QC isn't played anymore. He doesn't play anymore, more or less. But he had stretches where he single-handedly managed to revive QC for a few days or weeks. I with Reaver, two-handedly, double-handedly put UU Ceton on the leaderboard, and now it's being played almost daily by some other people. I don't even play in most UU games anymore, but people making a push for it can make things happen in this community if those things are of value, right? If UU was a shit mod, then it doesn't matter how enthusiastically I'm going about pushing it. It just won't get played. But if enough people are in the community that still want to play Future, Suede Steam booting a few of them won't kill that mod. But But still, I still think that ideally we want all the players in the Steam group. That's why we want the new players to also join that Steam group. Okay, Ava, you gotta chill a bit here. You're on thin ice. Yu is not a shit mod. What are you on about? Uh, Future just instantly crushes noobs and they don't play anymore. I mean, maybe. I also always recommend noobs to play MPT first. If they don't want to, then fine. I don't think we should force people to force MPT to play MPT food first. So I don't know. People can play what they want, and if they want to walk away after one unpleasant experience of Future because it's just nothing like anything they've ever played, then okay, that's unfortunate. But I mean, we're not like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we should ban new players per se from certain game types. But still, host rules apply, right? No matter if it's about new players or veteran players. If a host doesn't want to play with you, he doesn't have to. No host is obligated to play with a new player or with a veteran player or with any player. Right? That rule still stands and will always stand as long as, well, as long as it's not overturned by popular vote or something. Right? I mean, good point by Cheesy. I think, and Status admits this as well. There was some misconception about what Anti had actually proposed last week, and there was his reply in the Steam group didn't really make sense because Anti was talking about something different. But yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. So now that I've talked about everything that has come up in chat, I'll give my own thoughts on what Carlot has actually said. And that's not a whole lot of thoughts. Just basically that his four-step program is basically what we're doing, right? We're having people find out about the community, having them join the chat, having them integrated and educated, and then having them become active members. That's the four-step program we are currently using. It's just not always everybody isn't always enthusiastically engaging in all of these four steps. And that's fine. I don't have the energy when I come home after 6 hours of university and 2 hours of riding the train and 2 hours of after school work. I don't have the energy to go on a Discord call or link somebody to 3 Steam chats until they finally find the right one and then talking them step to step about how they can chat in the game and everything. As I get that. You don't always have to, you can't always give it your all. But the idea is that if a new player joins your lobby, one of the players, one of our community members in the lobby, please just be so kind and tell them the 3 essential things. Join the Steam chat, commit to the game for 2.5 or 3 hours if you're gonna play, mute the enemy team, and then you can just play, right? I mean, just the basics. That I really think, and my impression matches that of Carlot. Lately, that hasn't always taken place. There hasn't always been a single player in every lobby that looked like or that felt compelled to kind of take one of these new players by the hand and spend a little bit of time on integrating them. Because otherwise, right, it's obvious. I don't have to repeat this whole spiel, right? Otherwise it's sustainability and stuff, right? We need to just keep getting new guys. Come on in. And just lastly on this thing from my side, I ideally, just because I don't have time and energy for this right now, but I want to make a video. The whole paragraph that I posted in the Steam chat is pretty dense and long and unsexy for new players. I just want to make one single video that is like 5 minutes that says the 5 core rules, provides all the links for the new players that they need. So that's a Discord chat, the rule page, the Steam chat. I don't even think we need any other rules or links. And then it shows them visually where to download the map grid and the scenarios, and then it shows them where to find games. I just want to make a YouTube video because that's so easy to do. That's so easy. You just need to show people with a screen recording, okay, here you find this, here you find this, that's how you do this. Because explaining to somebody how they mute people in the game or how they download the map grid is so much harder on the keyboard than if you just record a 3-minute video. I'm just going to make one video for new players that will replace the entire wall of text in the noob info chat. But I don't think I have time for that right now. Maybe like in a week, maybe in a month, maybe in 5 months. I don't know. At some point when I feel compelled to do that, I will do that. If somebody else feels like they want to do that, please be my guest and just do that video. I think it's such an easy thing and it would help a lot because it's just so much more easy for the new players to understand a video than it is to read through an entire wall of text. Okay, now let's catch up with the chat. What have you guys been talking about there? Oh boy, that's a lot of text. Holy, oh boy, what the hell is that? A lot of text. Liv, okay, here's a good point to start. Liv is saying, he thinks I'm wrong. He's had lobbies where Ivan or someone was hosting a PT and they couldn't get the game going, so one of the toxic gatekeepers like SKA or Max stole the lobby and kicked Lib. Everyone except those two were fine with playing with me. That kind of gatekeeping behavior is unacceptable. Not really. Like, they don't have to play with you. They can just leave, right? If they don't want to play with you at all, they can just leave. But okay, they take it a step further. They leave and then they host their own lobby. And now there's 2 lobbies. But why is everybody then joining their lobby and not joining the lobby that you and Ivan or wherever are in, right? That sucks. I think that is. I don't do that, right? I don't, just because there's people in the lobby. Okay, surely maybe sometimes I leave because the lobby doesn't look appealing to me. I want to play with specific people, or there's people in there that I just don't want to play with on that day. Maybe that takes place, but then I don't put up my own competing lobby. I don't do that. I don't think that should be forbidden because it's super difficult to prove that, or to, because it's not forbidden to, for example, put up a modern and a future or a modern and an MPT lobby at the same time. But if you have 2 MPT lobbies up at the same time, it's kind of weird. That happened to me last week. Last week I had an MPT lobby up for like 2 hours, and I tab out, and what do I find out when I come back to my PC? The other guys just had a new MPT lobby up and launched a new MPT 10 minutes ago, while I had my lobby up for hours, and nobody even joined my lobby. It wasn't like everybody joined my lobby and then I was AFK and okay. No, they hadn't even joined my lobby, despite my lobby being up all that time. They just finished their MPT, made a new lobby, all joined that lobby, and then they launched. That's sad, right? Because if I have a lobby up that's advertised as MPT, why would you make a new MPT lobby? But it happens, right? I mean, that happens once to me now, and that's fine. I didn't even tell anybody, because I mean, what am I gonna say, right? It's nice that they got their game launched, right? Nobody was trying to exclude me on purpose, and I get that some people are trying to exclude you on purpose, Lib. And that is shitty, right? People should just keep their personal grudges to themselves, I think. But I don't think we can prohibit them from hosting their own lobbies. I wouldn't encourage it, but like, what do you propose? What can be done about that? Tommy's saying he just came back and didn't really know, guys. Quite sometimes feeling someone just drops to force a scrap. Or makes reload at earn 4 times. Hmm. I don't know how often that still happens. I can't remember in recent memory a time that I got a feeling of that sort. That might still happen every now and then, sure. I don't know, but yeah, not really on this topic, so sorry. She's saying there's a difference between new player not getting a game and Ivan or SK kicking Lib. Of course, that's two different things, yeah. That's the free market, Lib. That is the free market. That is capitalism at its purest. If people want to fuck you out of business, they just make their own business, make it more appealing, and you starve. I don't talk shit to any of the MPT players, and when shit talking happens at night in feud, it's all friendly. I mean, what are you trying to say though, mate? What are you trying to say though? Because like, it doesn't matter if you think what you're doing is fine. If they think what you're doing is not fine, they don't have to play with you, right? I mean, I hope that what you're doing is fine to you. You don't have to tell us that, right? I mean, I don't think you're particularly somebody that writes a whole lot of egregious shit, but whether or not I think that doesn't hold any bearing for Ivan, SK, or anybody. SK and Ivan deserve getting shit talked to, says Tommy. Yeah, I just disagree with that sentiment overall. I think leave people alone, especially somebody like Ivan who's really just playing the game. I don't see a good reason to talk any shit to him at all. That's just a guy who literally just wants to play CIV3, isn't great at it, but dude, dude, really, if you've got a problem with Ivan, I mean, mate, you're looking for problems at that point. All right, people arguing back and forth about Ivan and Lib. Mm-hmm. All right, Cheese sharing a personal story about how Lib was unwelcoming to him in one of his first games. Mm-hmm. I follow the conversation. Catching up still on the last 2 or 3 minutes of convo. All right. All right, I followed the conversation. Lib asking, what is wrong about joining a new MPT lobby and checking in? Because that's all I do. You know that that's not what you're getting kicked for, though. You're getting kicked for joining a particular person MPT lobby that just doesn't want to play with you. Right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, as Cheese just said, the message right above yours, you're not getting kicked for joining the MPT, you're getting kicked for whatever things people think about you. That doesn't have to be fair or accurate. They could have complete misinterpretations of who you are as a person. But what bearing does that hold? It's just always what I ask me. If people didn't want to play with me at all, and I'm not talking about all people, I'm just talking, like you're saying, about a few specific people, then I don't have to play with them, right? Why would I want to play with somebody that just doesn't want to play with me at all? That's what that's the thing I can't really connect to you on. Mm-hmm. I would also describe Lib as a guy who also just wants to play Civ 3, just like I described Ivan, yes. With the one caveat that both of these guys, Ivan and Lib, have a different interpretation of the word just playing Civ 3, whatever that means. Because Lib just wants to play Civ 3 the way he likes to play Civ 3. And Ivan just wants to play Civ 3 the way he likes to play Civ 3, which I deem to be much less controversial than Lib's way of playing Civ 3. Mm-hmm. Tommy coming around on Ivan a little bit. See, that's what I'm saying. I know that guy can lose you games sometimes or be counterproductive, not respond well in chat, but is that not all understandable? He's not a guy that studies Wade YouTube videos or that learns from the Discord streams. He's literally just a guy learning from his own experience. He doesn't speak English very well. He's just there to play Civ 3, and he's definitely not approaching this with malintent or anything. He's I vibe a lot with the guy. He's even making these fucking amazing fancy graphics for the MPT, so he's even contributing to the community. Just because he's a net negative player in some games, or many games, or the average game, I don't know. I mean, that's not something I hold against him personally, right? He's just playing. Um, Lib describing himself, I don't gatekeep games, I make content, play friendly games, and support the community. You make content, yes. You play friendly games. I'm not sure what that means, like friendly games in terms of playing games with your friends that are like non-ladder or ladder or whatever. Is that what you mean? Just playing with your friends and having a good time? I guess, yeah. You don't gatekeep games. Well, I don't know what gatekeeping means, but yeah, like I don't know. That's not really. That's kind of boogeyman to me. The word gatekeeping. You support the community. That's just a broad statement that you can talk. Everybody can, like I just said, like Ivan supports the community by making the MPT graphics. Status supports the community by running the ELO system and whatever. Some other people support the community by advertising games or just uh, trying to be a good player and a good teammate in all of their games. So I think that's a broad statement that can't really like. I don't disagree necessarily with any of that. Ivan is chill, says Lib. Uh, Silent Knight has a stick up his ass, says Lib, and Cheese says, here you are talking shit about SK again, do you see the issue? Perez says, not sure how SK has avoided hot water with the mods over some of the MPT ads he puts up, lol. The MPT ads he puts up are Steam chat stuff, and that's not moderated by me or any of the other ladder mods. That is moderated by the chat moderators, which is primarily Suede. So, and Suede isn't around very often in the Steam chat, so most of the stuff that's said in there is not noticed by him. And Cheese was asking earlier, by the way, I didn't engage, I didn't comment on that. Cheese was asking earlier what the topics number 1 and 2 were. Topic number 1 was the one you brought up with status in chat. Topic number 1 was about making teams and what we want to achieve, what's more important to us when making teams. Topic number 2, which we are still on technically, is talking about how to integrate new players and if we are doing a good job of that currently and what could be done to facilitate that. So if there's more opinions on that, then sure. All right. I guess I would just move this whole thing on then to more of a free podium type discussion where people can just, as they have been doing here in the last few minutes already, continue the discourse. So maybe we call this free discussion. All right. Another topic by Tommy. Swade put up a modern tournament, but he's got no Twitch channel. No, Tommy. Swade is posting the games from his modern tournament on his YouTube channel. He claims he wanted to upload the first 3 games this weekend. He's only uploaded 1 so far. He says the next 2 games that were played on Saturday will be uploaded before Friday, whatever that means. But he says that's the date he wants to meet now. Before Friday, he wants to upload the next 2 games. So all the modern tournament games can only be seen on his YouTube channel. People are not allowed to stream them because they are anonymous. Maybe they could stream them now, actually, because I'm not sure how the anonymous part is going to be held up next weekend. We'll see about that. Anyways, all of them are regardless going to be uploaded to Swade's YouTube channel if you want to see the games from the modern tournament. Okay. Lib saying the same thing again as he said earlier, by the way. So anyways, all this pales in comparison to how Swade has shafted the future community. Again, like, didn't we just talk about this earlier? As I already said, yes, he shafted the future community by making a better version of future that is now finally overtaking future in popularity. If more people started playing future again and modern was left to rot, yeah, maybe that would be fine too, right? I don't have a horse in the race here, so to speak. Sway just never really liked Future that much, and yeah, he's tried to improve it. He brought out Modern. If you want to bring out a mod of your own and promote it and have people play it with you, then you're free to do that as well, right? I don't really see the issue here. Like, what are you really complaining about with Sway in the Future community? Him making his own game and then advertising that and hosting it. You can still host future games though. So I played a future game earlier today. So it's not like you can't play future anymore. So again, is there anything new there or what's going on there? Yeah, sorry, Ava. The convo about noobs. Again, I apologize for being misleading with my title there. The convo about noobs was just about how we integrate new players in the community. It was not about the type of noobs you enjoy talking about. But yeah, if you're keen on the convo about new players in the community, go back in the water, wait for the YouTube upload. Modern just beat Future, survival of the fittest mod. The chef to speak of affect like 3 people because they harassed people. No lol, by banning 6 people, not by coming out with a shittier version. Lol, I'd rather nobody talking about that. I just disagree then. If you think the reason Feud is not being played anymore is because Swade banned 6 people from the Steam chat, then I disagree. I think the prime reason is that he made a mod called Modern. He's been continuously updating it, been advertising it a lot, and people have started to enjoy it more and come to terms with it as it's been more simplified. That's what I think is the prime reason. And he's sure he's booted plenty of players from the Steam group in the last few months. That's his own policy there. He runs the Steam chat. You can agree or disagree there. I think in some cases I wouldn't have booted the guys. In other cases I would have booted players that he hasn't booted. So it's just personal preference in that case, I guess. You can also advocate for booting nobody, but it's just him who runs the Steam chat, and by no means has he been tyrannically booting people every day just for insulting him. To the contrary, he just bans for reasons that aren't 100% or obvious to me, but he has his own set of priorities there or whatever. In any case, he's been booting people. He's always done that, and it's not just been future players. I'm not sure where you get that. Greenman was never a future player. And don't tell me now he's played 2 or 3 future games with you, so he was one of the future players. Now, Greenman is an MPT player. He's been booted. SK, MS definitely. I mean, was MS a future player? I don't even know. I don't think so, right? I mean, and again, I don't know really who all has been booted. But the thing is, all of these guys that you mentioned have been let back in. Bonehead's back in the group. Love is back in the group. None of these guys should have been out of the group for more than a day or a few days. Bob claims that he's been unable to rejoin. Nobody can verify as to why that is. I doubt that it is because Suede impedes him. I think there's a tech difficulty or a failure on Bob's part there, but that's just my personal hypothesis or whatever, right? That's just what I assume. It's not based on anything. Could be Suede deviously keeping him out of the community, of course. But all the other guys have rejoined this Steam chat and have been fine. So I don't see the argument there that you think. Okay, so Lib says, regardless of whether your chat moderator thought this was a public courtyard, it is. You can bring this up here, of course. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that Suede is the chat moderator, so so obviously the reasons for why people are booted are only fully in his knowledge, right? Only he knows about this, and only and not I don't make the rules there, and I don't enforce them. It's all him in that regard. I think there's other chat moderators. Isn't Zardos or somebody also a chat moderator? I don't know. Allegedly, there's other ones. In general, the Steam chat moderation strikes very rarely, so I don't even know who all the Steam chat moderators are. Alright, people do not get banned that often from Steam chat, I agree. It's either repeated harassment or use of slurs gets people banned. Maybe, I don't know, Swade's I don't know. Swade's reasoning is not always obvious to me there. Bob, Lib, and Soupy got screwed, says Lib. Not sure what screwed means. You all got kicked, I assume, for different reasons. And I assume you would all be allowed back in at this point. So, yeah. If you're not interested in joining back in, that's fine too, of course. But then, how is that you getting screwed? IMS could never join my lobby again, and it'd be seeing him again too soon. Okay. That is a quote from President, not what I said. Bob refuses to even ask Suede out of pride. That's what Cheese says. Yeah, maybe there's some issues there with Bob rejoining. I don't know. I think there's just some complications there on. I don't know where the issue is there, but sure. That's maybe that is what happens. We don't know. Ava says he's not a fan of the bans, but he does think it's more like a 5-a-side league than a public space. I don't know what a 5-a-side league is. Maybe so. What he's basically saying is, this is not a public space. This is just a group of committed people kind of making their own rules, so it's not like a public place per se, not an official public institution or something. Yeah, I guess that's what Ava is saying there. I don't know, like Rabbit saying he's not a fan of beans, neither am I. I can agree on that one. Maybe I should add a beans command in accordance with my steaks command in the Twitch chat. Banned for months. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think anybody has been banned for months. There's some people who've been like, Green Man has been permanently banned or indefinitely banned, one should say, I guess. I can understand that, right? I don't think that is too outlandish by its way to do that, given what Green Man has said and done, but I mean, Swade continues to reiterate that people are allowed to join the Steam chat under different accounts as long as they don't repeat the offenses under those accounts, right? He doesn't want to gatekeep you from playing games. He just wants to stop you doing the things he doesn't like, which is primarily what Cheese said earlier, or Status, or whoever said it. Slurs, harassment, whatever. That's what he says at least, right? I mean, I'm not here to justify him or to. You can complain to me, of course, and I can use this forum to broadcast your complaints to the entire community, and they will judge whether or not those are valid complaints. I'm not even here to say that Liv is necessarily wrong in all of this, but I'm just saying that's not the impression that I get most of the time with the stuff that you're talking about there. I don't see it as a shaft in the way that you're describing it. That's just yeah. Now Beans is the center of conversation in the chat. Beans, all right. Glad to hear that Ava has a hard opinion on that. Alright, I mean, that's such a childish argument, though. I get banned for posting a screenshot of what Status wrote. I mean, mate, that's so childish, though. Because, like, that's not getting real about what went on there. So, at that point, like, nobody really wants to engage that point of discussion if that's how you're gonna argue, is what I would say. Oh, Jesus, man. Oh, boy, my code is really getting nasty here. The hell is going on in the Discord? Oh, boy. Yes, that is the whole thing was ridiculous. The dot in the report channel and in the thing there. But that's bullshit. Mate, that's bullshit. If you're if that is how you're gonna describe what happened, that's just disingenuous, and that's obviously like you're not. Yeah. Mate, I mean, is that I don't know if that's the latest reason you got banned. I don't know if you're still banned. I don't know if it's been 4 months. All that I can't prove or disprove. I just know I was there, I wasn't there, but I read through those messages that you're talking about there, and what Status describes in the message above is much more closer to what I've seen than what. Well, it is exactly as close to what I've seen as the thing that you described, but your description was just super vague, right? I just got banned for posting an image of what somebody else wrote. Like, come on. And I don't know how long you're banned. I don't know if you're still banned. I don't know what the current policy on this is, and if that is because why you're banned. If the reason that you are banned right now is for this latest offense, that being the spamming of the reports chat, I agree that a 4-month ban for that is garbage, and nobody should be banned 4 months for posting a few too many messages in report chat. But on the other side, I would also argue that it is incredibly ridiculous and annoying for a member of the community who has been in the community for years and knows how the reports chat operates to be posting stuff in the reports chat. I think that's like more than 1 or 2 messages pertaining to a particular incident, maybe a funny game or a contest that you want to make in the heat of the moment. Fair, but that's clearly not what happened there. You were just spamming the reports chat. And I don't know. I don't see a justification for that either. Maybe you were drunk. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people who are drunk and doing wrong things. Other people's do. I'm not here to judge people, but I'm just saying, like, that is just as much bullshit as being booted for 4 months. And again, I don't know if that is the reason for which you allegedly are banned 4 months. If it is, I think that's a ridiculous reason and nobody should be banned for that for 4 months. But I also think nobody that has been in the community for years should be doing a thing such as you did then. Not saying it's super heinous, it's just incredibly lame, childish, and whatever. And it's not about posting the same thing that somebody else posted. And you arguing that way makes it very difficult to... You arguing for that whatever you did back then being reasonable is a better reason for Suede not to have you back in the group than what you actually did back then. Right? Because, I mean, it's the same thing still. It's the same thing still, not wanting to admit that. Or not wanting to conform. That's basically it. Not wanting to conform. I'm not here to say something smart. Lib is saying he's waiting for me to say something smart. I'm not here to say something smart. I'm just here to address whatever people are writing. This is not a duel of wits or whatever. I'm not a Thor versus the Giants wisdom competition where the loser dies and the winner earns eternal glory. This is just you saying ridiculous stuff and then me responding with just as ridiculous stuff because the whole premise is ridiculous. I'm not engaging on the core issue here. The core issue being whatever you spammed in the reports chat. I'm not engaging on that because there's really no point to that at all. All right. Anything different on that? Anything new? Any other topics? Again, this is the free discussion part. People can bring up whatever they want. Still, I don't know if you're still banned. I don't know what you're still banned for. If you're still banned, and I don't know how long you're gonna be banned and whatever. I don't know. I just, like, how would I know? Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's super taxing to even talk. A 10-second rant makes me stop breathing for 10 seconds because my nose is just completely clogged. That's ridiculous, eh? We should host new mod showcases. I just don't have the time for that, is the sad thing. I barely have enough time to set up the mods that I need for my tournaments, and make enough maps and prepare my stream layouts and everything. That's a super cool idea to make new mods, garner interest by making showcases and organizing events or streams around them. I have so many cool ideas about stuff that I still want to stream. For example, I want to stream like a Age of Empires 2 CIV3 crossover event where we play like a 3v3 in Age of Empires, and then the same Civ matchup we play in Civ3, and that's a funny event because we have the same Civs in both games and the same teams or whatever. Stuff like that I would love to do, but I don't really yeah, I'm just being real there. I don't even know if I'm gonna get done with all the work for my semester. I assume I'm gonna have to repeat at least one course next year already, just because I'm not a very productive person. I'm not that good at getting so much work done. So, and I don't even have a whole lot of work. There's people in my class that have way more work than I do, but I'm just not very productive. So that's why I'm saying cool idea with the mod showcase, but I don't see myself being someone very, not very likely to have time for that. Yeah, and you're right, Paris, right? I don't even have kids. I don't even have a real family of my own. So it could be much worse in terms of work. Still need to get a lot better about organizing myself and stuff, but I mean, that's what the youth is for, isn't it? I don't have shit figured out yet, but I'm looking forward to figuring it out. All right. Still, if there's any more stuff, still bring it. Free discussion, everybody. If somebody wants to call in, I would suggest doing that next month because I'm already pretty taxed here, and yeah, I'd love to wind down now. But next month, of course, we're gonna have the next town hall stream, end of March. Yeah, yeah, right. End of March it's gonna be. So that's probably gonna be the last town hall stream then. And still, starting today, you can send me topics for that stream. If you want to call in, do it then as well. The date, of course, isn't set yet, but something end of March, I assume. Like 4 weeks from now or something. Yeah, anything else as of recent? Anything else we need to bring up here? I don't know. Keep following the Modern tournament that Swede is hosting. I think games are going to be played Friday, Saturday, and or Sunday this week. So yeah, of course they're not going to be able to be watched live, most likely. So as I said already, if you want to watch the games, Swede YouTube channel is good for that, hopefully. And my next tournaments is probably not going to be before summer. I'm already working on stuff for the next tournament. I think it's going to be MPT again. I wanted to originally do a future tournament in April, but I had to take a job. I felt I had to sign up for a job in April. 2 weeks I'm going to be working, so I can afford to go to Korea again this year in autumn with my girlfriend to visit her family. So that's why I wanted to do 2 tournaments in this semester downtime period, but I'm now only able to host one because of the work that I signed up to do for monetary reasons. Hence, next tournament that I'm going to be hosting is probably going to be in summer. It's going to be MPT again. Just as a teaser, I'm still not committed. I have 2 MPT tournaments that are very different from each other that I want to still host. The one that right now I'm planning that I think I'm going to be doing in summer would be likely 3v3 again. It would be a bit smaller than our last 3v3 tournament, but it would be very different in structure. And one thing that maybe I can just tease already is it would be every civ would exist twice, so that the same civs could be picked by both teams. That's one of the features, of the many features that would be in that tournament. Again, I'm still in the very early stages of planning, and it's not going to be before summer, so, you know, look forward to it, but except Zoomer, says Ava. We'll see about that. We'll see. I think I have Carthage. Oh, I think actually in the current version I have Carthage in it, I have Byzantines in it, and I have Korea in it. MPT Korea, with the Agri and the Hwacha. That's the current version that I've been using for that. But still, it's like, yeah, that's just the idea that I'm playing with right now. But there's also many other specific things that I haven't obviously revealed yet, and I'm still working on all of that. Please no double zoomer, Eva says. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll introduce bans and whatever. Zoomer is still an MPT civ, and I don't think I'll boot him. I think I booted Greece from the lineup. I have currently in the current lineup I have all the regular MPT civs minus Greece, plus Korea, plus Carthage, plus Byzantines. I think that's what I'm at right now. So that's exactly 15 civs times 2, 30 civs. That's the maximum you can have. But we'll see about that. Again, that's just a teaser. So I think that's it then for today. A lot of active chat today. I think it's the most active chatting we've had in these Town Hall streams. That was cool. Thanks for you guys coming out. Maybe I'll do it again next time in the Steam dump, end of March. Again, that's going to be the next Town Hall stream, and likely possibly the next stream on this channel overall. I'm not sure I can do any other streams before then. So that's going to be our last Moderator Town Hall stream, end of March. Send me your topics if you've got them. Yeah, don't forget that over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Keep the topics coming whenever something comes up. And I'll see you guys in March, which it already is where I'm living.